So Ashton over at Gent Scents is the face for a new fragrance line. Are these going to be any good? Stay tuned to find out. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The First 15, this series where I bring you guys the first 15 minutes of a fragrance. And we have a few fragrances today, actually. We have 7. I have some decants of this new line called Galleria Parfums. Ashton over at Gent Scents is the creative director and the face for this fragrance line. Other than that, don't know too much about this fragrance line or the fragrances or like the business itself. When I went on the website, it did take me to Navitus, which is Redolessence. That was the company that he was doing videos for and promoting. I think he was the creative director for them. Not that this is really much of a telling sign, but their 2 discovery sets kind of look alike, like the way they look, sort of have the same branding almost, and like the same kind of color scheme and stuff. That could just be coincidence. I'm sure the distributor maybe just has the same kind of materials or whatnot. But like I mentioned, the website, initially when I went to the Galleria Parfums website, it did take me to a Navitus Parfums website. So I think they are related somehow, just maybe have different names. But yeah, so again, I don't know how the business works. I'm not really sure how that goes, who makes what, if it's a percentage of sales kind of thing. I'm just here to talk about the fragrances. So I'm going to have scent strips for each one of these fragrances. There is 7. So I'm going to try to make this video as fast as possible, but I do want to give you guys a lot of transparency and complete honesty. I'm not biased on these. I don't know Ashton personally, don't watch his channel. I don't have anything against him or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you guys what I get from these fragrances. I do know when I reviewed Steven's line over at Redolessence, a lot of those fragrances were very familiar. So that was like kind of my biggest knock on those. A lot of those were very familiar to other fragrances that are already on the market. So when you're paying a lot of money for a bottle and it already smells like something you might already have on your shelf, to me it's kind of a waste of money. So I wasn't really a big fan of a lot of those because of that reason. Don't get me wrong though, high quality fragrances, they lasted a long time. Great quality, that's the main thing I can say about that. But the price, and they were very familiar. These bottles here, I think for 100 ml, they are $205, which is already expensive. So I'm hoping these aren't going to be familiar to anything else. I will let you guys know if I think this reminds me of anything. But again, I think it's funny how everyone gave Jeremy such a hard time for making his fragrances so expensive, and these guys are $205 for a 100 ml bottle. And I think Steven's fragrances were just as much, if not more, like $285 or something like that, $250. But again, it's the business. I understand. I just think maybe a lot of people didn't understand how it worked until they got in the driver's seat. And they're like, oh, you gotta charge that for materials and for promotional stuff. It's an expensive business. So so there's 7 of these fragrances. We're gonna get to them as quick as possible. So I do have the notes right in front of me. So if my eyes kind of drift, that's where I'm going. But I will give you a little bit of information about this house. Like I mentioned, Galleria Parfums. The house was launched in 2020. I will leave a link to the website below, and I'll leave a link to my video, to Redolescence's video, to his Navitus Parfums. These are all X-rated Parfums, 100 ml. Like I mentioned, they're $205 for 100 ml. The Discovery set is $35. So let's get started. First fragrance on the list here is Dreamwoods. I don't know any of the classifications of these fragrances. I just know the names and the notes. The nose and the noses. So the nose behind this fragrance is Bertrand de Chamfort. And I know that he is pretty well known in the community. In the top, we have grapefruit, bergamot, cedarwood leaves, juniper berry, and ginger. In the mid, we have lavender, nutmeg, driftwood, fig, quince. And in the base, we run things off with gaiac wood, balsam, tonka bean, vanilla, ambergris, and patchouli. Take a couple sprays of this fragrance, see what it's all about. Dreamwoods. Okay. Definitely almost has like a ultramall type of opening. Very spicy and sweet. Kind of tangy a little bit like ultramall. Or like Date for Men by Jeremy Fragrance. Kind of has a little bit of that kind of thing going with it. But this is creamy, citrusy. Definitely getting all the citrus notes. The juniper berry, the ginger. Getting that lavender. And the wood notes. The gaiac wood. Sweet with the vanilla. and the tonka bean. Not a bad fragrance. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to these afterwards and see how they dry down. I don't want to spend too much time because this video could be very, excuse me, very long if I take too much time on these. So next one up is Dusk to Dawn. Not Dusk Till Dawn, like the movie. Dusk to Dawn. So this one, again, same perfumer, Bertrand Jachanfour. In the top, we have bergamot, cardamom, pomelo, clary sage. In the mid, we have peony, lily of the valley, cyclamen, leather and tobacco. And in the base, we have myrrh, cedarwood, vanilla, patchouli, vetiver, papyrus, and ambergris. Dusk to Dawn. A couple of sprays here. Okay. Getting the nice fruitiness with this one. I think it might be... There's some greenness as well. I think this is the mix between the citrus notes, the clary sage, and the cardamom. But this one also has lots of floral notes in it too, so I'm going to guess the floral notes are definitely going to come into play, or if not, they're already kind of giving that vibe off. This one right now, I think the whole line is unisex, but right now this one so far is, I guess, so far it's only the second one. But it's kind of unisex with the floral notes in there. Yeah. Fruity, floral a little bit. Sweet. But this isn't like gourmand sweet. It just kind of has like a fruity sweetness to it. Yeah. So far the first two are not great. They're okay. Definitely quality here, but nothing too special. Number 3 is going to be Moving Times. Moving Times. Perfumers for this fragrance are Francis Kurkdjian, so MFK, and Jerome Di Marino. The top notes are bergamot. Excuse me if I pronounce this incorrectly. Litsi Cubiba. I don't know what that is. Lemon and spearmint. In the mid we have lavender, geranium, iris concrete. And the base we have laudanum, vanilla, patchouli, and tonka absolute. Let's see what this one's all about. A couple sprays. Okay. Definitely getting like a woodiness here. There's no wood in this fragrance, but it smells almost like there's like cedar in this. It's sweet. I'm getting that iris note. I don't know what iris concrete is, but if it's what the name says, it smells kind of like almost minerally, like a rock or like stone or something, but it's iris. But it's a very natural smelling iris, or like, I don't know. Kind of hard to describe this. This one's it's thick. It's a little spicy. Not really getting a lot of that bergamot or the lemon. I'm getting a little bit of that spearmint. But right now I'm getting a ton of lavender and a ton of that iris note. A little bit of sweetness from the vanilla. Honestly, don't really know where this one's going to go. I can't really classify this one. These are, so far, they're kind of unique. They're not like super mainstream, which is good. These are an independent niche perfume house. But they're not like really blowing my socks off right now. So that's what I'm kind of just looking at the notes. This one's a little familiar, but I just can't pick up what it reminds me of. I would say like a Fahrenheit, but I think that's violet. I don't think Fahrenheit has iris. So I was sort of getting that type of vibe, but not really. Something does remind me of this fragrance, so I just can't quite put my finger on it, though. And there's no cedar in this, so something in this gives it a bit of a cedar type of smell. Or like a wood chip type of smell. All right, on to the next one. That is Cognac Cafe. This one I have predicted is going to be one of my favorites because I read the notes, and I do like coffee fragrances. If they're super heavy in coffee, I'm not a big fan of that. But I do like some coffee fragrances on the market, so I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those, I guess. So Cognac Cafe, probably going to mess up the word cognac because I do it all the time. So Cognac Cafe, the perfume for this fragrance is Sydney Le Censeur. In the top we have coffee, almond, brown sugar, and licorice. In the mid we have papyrus, sandalwood, more coffee apparently, and cognac. And in the base, we round things off with vanilla, amberwood, cedarwood, barrel of cognac, and myrrh. So a couple of sprays here. Cognac Cafe. Okay. Yeah, definitely getting the coffee note. It's strong. I mean, they put it in here twice. Not sure if that was a typo. You experts out there can help me out. Can you put a note in the top and in the mid and it's the same note? Because they did that here. But yeah, definitely getting the coffee and the almond, the brown sugar. It almost has like an amaretto type of smell to it. So it's very nice and gourmandy. It smells like a smoky morning coffee, right? Like, or not smoky, but like dark roasted morning coffee. Getting the sandalwood. So it's nice and woody and got the coffee note in there. Not getting that cognac. The cognac is in the name. But I'm not quite getting that quite a bit right now. Getting the vanilla for sure. That's kind of helping that amaretto or whatever, like that really sweet type of coffee you guys can get out there. But that coffee note is very natural. It's very realistic, like coffee beans, like coffee grounds. So it's nice. Yeah, so I did predict this one was going to be my favorite based on the notes. Right now it is. So we'll see how it changes when we go back through these here in a little bit. Next up, we have Victorian Tobacco. Victorian Tobacco, let's see. We have, in the top, we have gin and tonic, juniper berry, apple, clary sage, and geranium. In the mid, we have tobacco leaf, cedarwood, patchouli, and oak wood. And the base, round things off with vanilla, tonka, vetiver, gaiac wood, and beeswax. So some of these notes sound kind of interesting, actually. Victorian Tobacco. Okay. Getting the fruity notes. But this one doesn't smell like what I was thinking. It doesn't smell like I was getting like more of a, from the notes, I was hoping it'd be like a, well, kind of, I guess, maybe. Because there is beeswax in this. And I've tried some fragrances in the past. I think Avant Garde from Lanvin had beeswax in it. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And that one I think has tobacco as well. This is tobacco leaf. Again, I'm not really sure the difference. Almost getting like a hay note too. If you guys can help me out, there is a Killian fragrance that I really liked. Oh man, I can't think of the name of it. I'll put the name right here if I can't remember the name. But there's a Killian fragrance that sort of reminds me of. And that one had, I think that had hay in it, but it had tobacco as well. And maybe some honey. This one kind of reminds me of that. Kind of liking this one, actually. Obviously, it's just been the first few seconds with each of these fragrances, but you know, so far these aren't really reminding me too much like straight up clones. I was a little worried about that because, you know, we did I did the Navitas Parfums video, and I will link that below. And that, unfortunately, a lot of those reminded me of of other ones popular on the market. So far, these are doing okay. They're pretty unique on their own. This one just kind of has nuances of that fragrance that I mentioned. But yeah, so Victorian Tobacco, not bad. So far, Cognac Cafe is my favorite. This one, close second, we'll see. By the Yuzu Grove is the next one. So by the Yuzu Grove, let's see here. Perfumers of this fragrance are Lucas Siuzak and Olaf Larsen. In the top, we have yuzu, lemon zest, ginger, yuzu cocktail accord, and mandarin. In the mid, we have Szechuan pepper, olibanum, nutmeg, and clary sage. And the base, round things off with leather, vetiver, cedarwood, and sandalwood. So by the Yuzu Grove, a couple of sprays. I've tried a couple of fragrances with yuzu. They've always been really fresh and fruity. Okay, yeah. Yeah, this one starts off very citrusy, super sharp, super bright, super clean. Definitely getting all that lemon zest. If you guys like lemon, you're going to love this. The yuzu's blending very well with it. I can pick it up as well. The cocktail accord, not really getting any boozy notes just yet, but I can tell it's all citrus with the mandarin note as well. I'm getting some of that clary sage, just making it a little bit green. There's some leather listed in the base, so I'm guessing that's just going to help with the longevity, like Neroli Portofino Forte. They added leather to that composition, and I heard it's to help with the performance, so I'm guessing that's going to help with this. Getting some of the wood notes, which is cedarwood and sandalwood, but right now it's not bad. It's very sharp. This doesn't smell like Neo from Xerjoff, but it has that sharpness, that woodiness almost. That fragrance has. This is definitely, I could tell, just, because I've already done 4 of these. This is going to be their summer release or whatever, because I don't really see too many of these other fragrances doing really well in the hot or warm weather. So this one's definitely going to be that. Not a bad fragrance right now. And finally, we have Shades of Seduction. So Shades of Seduction here. Again, same perfumers as the last fragrance, Lucas Siuzak. I'm sure I'm butchering that last name. And Olaf Larsen. In the top, we have pink pepper, cardamom, and bergamot. In the mid, we have lavender, cinnamon, benzoin, and gaiac wood. And in the base, we round things off with vanilla, amberwood, and patchouli. Let's get a couple sprays on this strip here. Okay. Okay. Smells a little familiar, but I'm definitely getting that pink pepper. The cardamom is very heavy in this in the top. Very sexy smelling. And the bergamot. Lavender. Yeah, this one immediately. This might be the one that reminds me the most of something else so far out of all these. This one reminds me of Leighton from Parfums de Marly. Not exact. This one isn't as sweet or as heavy, but I'm definitely getting that DNA. I don't know how many notes they share, but something in this makes me think of Leighton by Parfums de Marly. Yeah, that vanilla, amberwood. Yeah, not a bad fragrance, but again, it's kind of familiar. So again, I'm not trying to take too much time on these fragrances, so I'm going to go back over them and narrow down maybe my top 3. We'll see. So, Dreamwoods. Okay. It's very sharp. Powdery and sweet. A lot of the citrus notes are gone. I'm really left with the vanilla, tonka bean, the driftwood, and I think the ambergris. Something in the base, or right now in the drydown, is giving it a bit of that sharpness you find a lot of designer fragrances right there in the drydown. So it has a little bit of that mainstream type of... There's no Ambroxan in this, but it kind of has a little bit of that loudness that Ambroxan brings to the table in the base. Or in the drydown, I mean. Not a bad fragrance. Not really standing out to me, honestly. There is 7 of these, so I kind of already have my favorites picked out, or which ones so far I think I'm going to be the best. But, well, good news is this doesn't remind me of anything else, so that's good. Bad news is it's not really blowing my socks off. Again, this is probably one that I would just smell once and pass on. Dusk to Dawn. Yeah. I think I mentioned this a little while ago, but this right now might be the most unisex. And I want to say all these are unisex. Don't quote me on that. I couldn't find that on the website. And if it's on there, I must have missed it. But this one is the most unisex. I think it's the floral notes in this that makes me say that. The peony and the lily of the valley. Not really getting any tobacco in this. The leather's a little bit of that skanky leather, but it's not prominent. And the citrus notes are still there, which is the bergamot and I think it's pomelo, right? Is pomelo a citrus note? I think it is. But not bad. Fruity and spicy. And that's about it. So nothing special again. So right now the first 2 are Going to number 3 here, which is Moving Times. Okay. This is the one that had that iris concrete. This was okay. But something about this is off-putting. And I swear there's wood notes in this. I mean, I have notes right in front of me, so there's no wood in this. But this smells like cedar chips. You know, like those dried chips you put in the gerbil cage or whatever, the hamster cage? Like, it smells kind of like that. I'm sure it's a mixing of some other notes in this that are giving it that. But this is woody, even though there's no wood in it. Powdery and sweet vanilla. I'm not really sure how to classify this one, honestly. I don't know if it's a yeah, what to call this one. Is it Oriental? Is it a... Kind of has a little bit of a barbershop thing going, but not really. Maybe from the lavender kind of gives it that vibe, but it is pretty masculine, even though these are probably going to be all unisex. But yeah, so, again, so far, the first three are okay, but not really blowing my socks off. The one I predicted was going to be my favorite is Cognac Cafe. Let's check out that dry down. Oh, yeah. Definitely a good, nice, wearable coffee cognac fragrance. I'm not getting a lot of the cognac. I'm not a cognac expert, but I'm not getting a lot of boozy notes. It's there, but I can't. It's not like super over the top. I'm getting a lot of the coffee. Definitely the coffee, coffee grounds or whatever. It's very sweet. So the brown sugar and the vanilla. If you're into coffee fragrances, you're gonna love this one. So right now, this might be my favorite. We'll see. We're almost done here. But I can see probably the majority of people out there liking this one out of all of them probably right now. But we're not finished yet. Next one is Victorian Tobacco. Yeah. Definitely reminds me. This is a heavier version of that Killian fragrance I mentioned earlier. Oh, there's no hay in this, but I'm definitely getting a hay note. Something in this reminds me of hay. That beeswax might be helping with that. Kind of giving it that sort of semi-sweet, almost waxy sort of smell. It's sweet, but I'm not getting a lot of the fruit notes on top. I'm mainly getting the vanilla, the tonka, the tobacco leaf, and the beeswax, and the gaiac wood, because it is woody. I do like this fragrance. Yeah, it almost reminds me of a thicker, heavier version of Tobacco Mandarin by Joe Malone, which is one of the fragrances that came in a little skinny bottle. And almost like a heavier, thicker, better quality version of Dolce & Gabbana for Men, the Italy version that came out back in the day. This is way heavier, a lot thicker. So don't get me wrong, these aren't exact, but something in this reminds me of that. But I like this. So this is good. All right, by the Yuzu Grove. Yeah. Citrusy, zingy. It's toned down from that opening, so it's not as bright as it was. Obviously, these notes are going to tone down. But it's nice. It's good. This might be the most mainstream citrusy fragrance they have, or at least this is their only really citrusy summer fragrance. But this one might be the most familiar to everyone's nose, I would think. Yeah, definitely getting all those lemon notes. This is very lemony, very citrusy, very zingy. Getting the cedarwood and the sandalwood. This is a nice fragrance. Now, sort of done before. I mean, every citrus fragrance on the market is kind of a dime a dozen. But this one is nice. There's quality here. The wood notes in this mixed with the yuzu and the citrus notes is very nice. I just think this house is so small that it's going to be kind of hard to really pull the trigger on a $205 bottle of this stuff when there's other things on the market that are kind of similar almost. With that being said, though, this is still very good quality fragrance. Very nice. I wonder what this would smell like on skin, like in the hot weather. I bet this would probably shine pretty good. And finally, we have Shades of Seduction. I don't know who names these things, but I'm not a big fan of that name. Sounds like a romance novel. Yeah, so pink pepper, cardamom, yeah. Again, gonna go ahead and say, trying to save some time, this does remind me of a less spicy, little toned down version of Leighton from Parfums de Marly. And out of all these, all these, I think this one's probably the most that reminds me of something, which is good because I was afraid. Unfortunately, whenever I did the review for Redolescence's line from Navitus, a lot of those were very familiar. And unfortunately, I was like, man, this reminds me too much of this, or reminds me too much of that. This might be the only one that really reminds me of, like, one that I could say it's too close to have both. And that's going to be Leighton. Again, not exact. So quickly, just to go over my favorites, I'm going to say that Cognac Cafe is probably going to be my favorite overall. Because this is something I can get on board with. I don't own a lot of coffee fragrances, but when I find a good one, I'm like, okay, I can work with that. Some are too in your face, that coffee note. This one seems to be a good blend. coffee and gourmandy and woody. Nice fragrance here. I think a personal favorite of mine, because when I smelled this one, I was immediately getting thoughts of being like at the spring, even though this might be probably better in the fall, but I get a spring setting in my head when I smell this fragrance. I got the same thing from the Killian fragrance. I cannot remember the name. I probably already posted it down here, but that fragrance reminded me of this one and this one of that one. So this is probably a heavier, better version of that fragrance. So if you guys like that one but didn't think it lasted long enough, you're going to love this one. Victorian Tobacco. This is a nice fragrance. Again, not blowing my socks off. Not the greatest thing I've ever smelled, but I do personally like this one. There's 7 here. I only like 3 really, so gotta pick my battles here. So yeah, this is a nice mature tobacco scent. I like it. And by the Yuzu Grove is going to be like I think I said it a second ago. It's going to be by far the most mainstream fragrance. You guys go, okay, yeah, I've smelled that 100 times. Not sure if it's worth the 205, but it smells really good. Quality's here, performance is here. I'm guessing anyway. It smells like it's going to have good performance anyway. I could be wrong, but I mean, $205 dollars for a 100 ml bottle, it better. But right now, this is a nice citrus fragrance. They only have one citrus fragrance in the line. That's going to be this one for summer. So I'm guessing this is going to be the best for that. Again, probably Cognac Cafe is going to be my favorite from the line. Maybe right in front of or right behind Victorian Tobacco. But yeah, so that was the house of Galleria Parfums. Liked the house. Again, not blowing my socks off. Honestly, overall, nothing special except for those 3. But it could have been worse. I mean, it could have been a bunch of clones, and so they weren't. Please, guys, let me know if you guys have tried any of these fragrances. If you guys have tried Galleria Parfums, let me know your thoughts on these fragrances and your favorites down in the comments below. All right, thank you guys so much for watching our video on my channel. If you like this video, please click that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications for future first impressions videos and fragrance-related content just like this. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Dollars and Cents. There, you'll find fragrance-related photos and future contest winners. And as always, until the next video, you guys take care. Thanks.